So I teased this in the intro, but here we go. Let's brace for impact. Get your seatbelt on. Curious journalist Andy No asks Professor Emeritus Jordan Peterson how psychology can explain why Antifa is so evil and bad. Jordan B. Peterson says it's revenge against God for the crime of being. Then he starts crying. So everyone, I present to you the funniest thing I've ever seen.
I wanted to ask you about based on your knowledge, your background, your clinical experience. What is the psychology of this mob violence? When I see it, I don't even recognize some of these. They seem animalistic, is what I mean.
No, they're worse than animals. They're worse than animals because animals, they just kill to eat, you know. Human beings, they have a twist in them that makes them far worse than animals when they really get going. Well, I think you really want to know what I think? I think it's revenge against God for the crime of being. That's really what I think. It's Cain and Abel. It's like, oh, Abel's your guy, eh? God, how about if I take him out in the field and beat him to death? How do you feel about that? All my sacrifices went unrewarded. Yeah, it's like, yeah, that's what it is at the bottom of the hell of things.
And then he just breaks down. It's over. Now, to me, I don't know about you, but this is what I think of when I hear this.
That isn't what it meant.
Well, what did it mean then? Explain.
It meant that it's indicative of low-resolution thinking.
I don't know. The idea that, first of all, okay, there's a lot to take in here. So first of all, Antifa, mob violence. What? Would it, like, first of all, like, Antifa's not the only, like, kind of, like, person that would engage in mob violence. Now, also, it needs to be understood, 99.999999% of the time, now again, we're talking about Andy No here. We're talking about Adam Waffen, neo-Nazi photographer Andy No. We're talking about providing kill lists of anti-fascist activists to neo-Nazi groups, Andy No, right? So 99% of the time you see Antifa, mob violence, it's highly edited, it's staged, it's self-defensive, it's when right-wingers come in and start beating the shit out of people and people respond, right? That's what Andy No does. Now again, I have done this. I have been involved in protests and have had Andy No take my footage that I recorded and pretend that the complete opposite of what was going on, right? Situations where people on the right try to instigate and harass people, and then someone on the left responds, calling them a name, screaming at them, and, just cuts out the part with the start, and then only plays the part where the, left-wing protesters, yelling at someone for trying to instigate a fight, and then saying, look, Antifa, the mob, the mob, the mob. So this is almost always, I would even go as far as to say it's probably 100% of the time, let's be honest, right? It's probably 100% of the time, but for the sake of fairness, I'm going to say it's 99.9% of the time that Andy No will lie and just take things out of context, right? And just misrepresent and contort things to the point where they're just not even remotely true. And then again, the idea that, right, the mob, they're animalistic. I don't even view them as human. You know who I don't view as human? People that provide kill lists of other human beings to neo-Nazi organizations. Go fuck yourself, bitch. All right, so that's Andy No already. All right, boom. So now let's get into this guy, Jordan Peterson. Now I'm going to play this again because this is wow. I mean, this is really, okay.
You really want to know what I think? I think it's revenge against God for the crime of being.
Andy No doesn't know what to say. What? It's revenge against God for the crime of being.
It's really what I think.
Now, I wish they would have kept the camera on Andy because I would have loved to have seen his face throughout the rest of this. That said, I do appreciate the solo focus on the crying. So.
Cain and Abel. It's like, oh, Abel's your guy, eh? God, how about if I take him out in the field and beat him to death? How do you feel about that? All my sacrifices went unrewarded. Yeah, it's like, yeah, that's what it is at the bottom of the hell of things.
It's bizarre. I mean, this is certainly bizarre shit. This is some really strange stuff. Okay, so Antifa is like Cain and Abel beating the shit out of God. What? I'm like, what? Like, okay, does this imply that, like, right-wingers at protests are God, and when Antifa is beating the shit out of a right-winger, right, again, because the right-winger started a fight, right, and they're responding and defending someone, right, so that is, like, beating God, like, with Cain, or, I don't even know what Cain and Abel are. Are those, like, the fucking grandchildren of God or some shit? I don't know. This guy is Looney Tunes. Like, I don't understand why anyone, would listen to a religious person about anything. I mean, like, religious people really are fundamentally, like, they've got some sort of broken mechanism in their brain. They're just fucking weird. Again, why do religious people feel the need, right, to, like, bring about, like, we're talking about Antifa and how they're, like, animals or whatever. And then this motherfucker's starting to talk about Cain and Abel. Like, what the fuck? Like, what does that have to do with, like, I don't understand, like, we're talking about psychology. We're not talking about religion. This guy's confusing psychology and religion. Like, Andy Ngo is talking about the psychology of anti-fascists and mob violence or whatever. Now, again, he's lying. He's a fucking scumbag psychopath, right? But again, like, this, I thought this guy was a psychologist, not, so you can't answer a psychology question without bringing in Cain and Abel? Like, what the fuck? I want to play it again because, like, again, this is, like, really, I mean, this is fascinating stuff.
Of being. That's really what I think. It's Cain and Abel. It's like, oh, Abel's your guy, eh, God? How about if I take him out in the field and beat him to death? How do you feel about that? All my sacrifices went unrewarded. Yeah, it's like,
I can't with this part.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to zoom in slightly so it's a little easier. So, I want you to look at his, like, upper lip twitch. Look at this. Look at his upper lip, like, pucker. Look at this.
Unrewarded. Yeah. It's like...
I can't! Like, I can't. Let's just do it.
Rewarded. Yeah. It's like... Yeah, that's what it is at the bottom of the hell of things.
And then it's over. Like, he broke down. It's done. Anyway, again, these motherfuckers are scumbags. Don't listen to anything they say. Like, I don't need to waste my time with any sort of debunkery. But my God. Yeah. You know, Antifa is basically, like, destroying Cain and Abel in front of God and rewarding, unrewarding. Yeah. Like, what the fuck? Wow. I mean, okay. That's crazy.
All of a sudden we can't talk about Neanderthal DNA anymore.
Hopefully everyone's enjoying the first hour of the show. That's right, because now we are in the second hour. We're in the second hour. Yeah! Woo!